Hello, and welcome to this final session for today. I thank you your presence here. I am going to explain a kind of local story. Hopefully, maybe somebody can take lessons beyond this locality, because my story deals with how to stay 25 years doing music technology research in Barcelona. A short introduction about myself. I'm Perfe, and I'm working in the MTG in the Music and Multimodal Interaction Lab, and also in the Music Information Retrieval Lab since before these labs were invented, in fact. I'm also a full-time professor at Catalonia College of Music, which is the place where musicians go to become professionals, and there we teach a degree on sonology, which is kind of Tonmeister or sound engineering. And since 1981, I have been evangelizing about electronic music. My first experience was to explain what a synthesizer was and prepare a listening session about Tangerine Dream. It was in high school, and from a potential audience of hundreds, I got 2 persons. So, well, I think that if I would repeat this experience today, I could get much more audience. So this means that during all this time, something has changed for good. By the way, I found one of these 2 persons not long ago, and he told me, hey, I bought a couple of CDs by Tangerine Dream. So, well, I achieved my goal even 40 years later. Probably I am the MTG member that more Sonar editions has attended, and maybe this is one of the reasons I am now here instead of my director, Xavier Serra, who is on holidays, a big reason for not being here. And other colleagues are also on holidays and probably could provide a different perspective. My own perspective is, I have to say, is quite biased and totally partial. And I will try to, anyway, to explain a nice story about all these 25 years. I would like to start with some demos. Probably some of you know well one or several of these highlights or interesting achievements. So, Freesound.
Welcome to Freesound. Freesound is the online collaborative database of sounds where anyone can browse, download, contribute, and share sounds. Freesound has over 2.5 million registered users and more than 170,000 sounds that have been created and uploaded by its community and are released under open Creative Commons licenses. Freesound's library has just about every imaginable sound, including field recordings, instrument samples, drum loops, electronic sounds, voice recordings, sound effects, and much, much more.
After 8 years of building Freesound, of having a large community that contributes to Freesound, it's a great resource.
The community supporting Freesound is highly active, contributing extensively with comments on sounds and with forum posts.
It's a great resource for many people, and not just for people, also for companies and for other applications that require sounds and require information about sound.
There is an advanced and efficient search functionality that gives access to all the sonic and textual contents of the database. Every sound is accompanied by a text description and tags added by the creator of the sound, thus giving a rich information to search into. Many sounds have geotags and can be accessed through a world map. There is an extensive use of tag clouds to organize the results of a search, thus facilitating the browsing of the sound results. Sounds can be searched by audio content similarity, and from every sound, we can go to acoustically similar sounds. Freesound is a global platform, being used, contributed to, and supported by people from all over the world. Users include a wide variety of profiles, going from sound professionals to sound lovers. Sound engineers can access thousands of unique and royalty-free files to create original, highly individual, and distinctive sounds.
Okay, you get the idea. Another important grabbing a lot of attention application has been more recently the Iheart, which is a tool that has been used to provide music creation capabilities to people with severe motor disability. So this means that by using DIs, this person can select notes, can select dynamics, can organize music in time. And wow. I'm sorry. Whoops. Okay, maybe the most famous is this one. Yeah, you have seen Björk a long time ago using the Reactive Ball, which is a kind of tabletop synthesizer that makes possible to create music by moving certain objects that have specific functions, that have some knowledge about how to connect with other objects, and that helps to, or makes possible to share the music creation experience around a table in order to get you a more clear idea. Maybe this video can help. Okay. My final element, popular, with some press coverage and also scientific importance, is this open source library for audio and music analysis and synthesis, which is called Essentia, which contains part of our know-how grown during all these 25 years. There are many algorithms for generating descriptions, for getting audio and music features, and this library is increasingly being used in many research contexts, even beyond audio and music for leisure, in medical situations or in industrial situations to detect certain features in sounds. And the type of context where this library has been used is summarized by this cloud. Well, we are in Poblenou, in this campus, UPF campus called Campus Poblenou. This is our building. This is the big campus and a former textile factory reconverted, and a new building was built there. A part of our team. And now it's time to talk about where all this came from. Probably you have seen some nice demos, hopefully. But in 1994, maybe it was the worst or the best year in music. Some nice achievements, some interesting artists, new inventions in musical genres, new inventions in music technology. Physical modeling was hype at that time. Our research context, when we started in doing this music research, was, I would say, I am a bit exaggerating, but this idea or this quotation from Spanish writer Unamuno represents, in my view, a lot of the typical Spanish thought about research. It's let the others be the inventors, and we are happy being the users. And this lack of support of research from whatever government has been really important. Well, we wanted to do some research in this context, and research on music. Wow, music is the poor sibling, at least in Spain. From what I know from in other countries, you have a live musical life. Music is inside families. Music is taught in the school. Many people can grow musically. Not here in Spain. Look at the newspapers. Look at the TV. You will get a lot of coverage for sports, for films, for theater, for movies. Music, well, a small column, and that's all. So, music, technology, research, Barcelona, 1994. That was the place and the sensation. We were at the desert. Not really. Hopefully, we had a cradle, which is called Phonos. And Phonos was an invention, was one of the first electronic music labs in Spain, and was created by one composer, an engineer, and a maker, Luis Callejo, who is in this photo. And they created this lab like a home studio in 1974. Some years later, they were able to build the first synth made in Spain, Stokos 4, still working a bit. Later, you can see here some classic devices, Synth EA, RSF Cobol here. Here there is an Apple synth controlled by, Roland synth controlled by an Apple II, Korg MS-20, a Polymoog. This photo probably is from the mid-80s. Personal computer here. This was the lab was growing and was allowing composers to go there and to use the equipment and to create music under different criteria. Around 1987, Fonus moved to this nice building, Fundació Miró. Probably, if you know Barcelona, you have been there. And around 1992, these machines, which were invented by Steve Jobs when he was fired from Apple, and he invented an amazing computer that was even conceived for making music and for doing audio analysis and synthesis tasks, quite well thought. At that time, I started learning computer music with Xavier Serra. You have seen him before. But the place where we were working was kind of, these subterranean corridors. So it was, like a horror movie. When you went to the lab at that time, and you had to go frequently because the time that required to compute something interesting, some 6 seconds of audio, could be one night. So you may have in mind how far or how we reach today. And these three guys represent Xavier Serra, the director of the MTG, Sergi Jordà, the father of the Reactive Ball, and I am here also. At that time, we were trying to make some business with these synthesis technologies, which we wrote to many companies in the States, showing some kind of sound transformations that could be used for sound effects or for other type of TV and films. And hopefully, some years later, Xavier, again, he was invited to join to the Instituto Universitari de l'Audiovisual, which was a kind of multidisciplinary creation hub, putting together people working on computer animation, on multimedia, trying to make something new to come out from that. Probably the only still existing result is the MTG. Xavier brought some knowledge from his PhD thesis on one specific method for doing sound analysis and transformation. And this was the seed where we started to work. Even in the 1997, the team was quite small, and we were working on these ideas, on improving these synthesis techniques. But then one day, people from Yamaha came to visit Xavier, because Xavier in California had been working in their labs, and proposed some research project dealing with a kind of impersonation karaoke, like you can see here. So the idea was to control with one's voice another voice of the real singer, for example, and using expression features to also change the voice that was sounding. This work led, after some years, to the Vocaloid that we have seen before. And then another, and this was a big game changer, the team built growing, and another big changer was MPEG-7. Probably nobody here has heard about this MPEG-7. Probably you are familiar with MPEG-4 for videos, for audio, MPEG-1, layer 3, which is popularly known as MP3. But MPEG-7, what was that? This was a failure, a big failure. But I was involved into that. And I learned a lot in my 3 years working with the MPEG group, an international group of people, trying to come up with a standard for content description. All the MPEGs that you know are for coding, audio and video, but this one was not for coding, was for standardizing the way that we describe the content in a piece of music, in a photo, in a video, in a way that these descriptions could be exploited by recommenders, by personalization services, by whatever. But the idea was nice, but it was too ambitious and too complex. The technical solutions were too complex. Nobody has adopted MPEG-7, but during this time we learned a lot on audio and music description. And we developed algorithms to start generating metadata automatically from the audio. And this line of work allows us to build detectors of different musical features, detectors of mood, detectors of instrumentation, also creating specialized recommenders, also proposing avatars for listeners according to their listening profiles, which were analyzed, analyzing the audio that they were listening. And along this line, currently, we are working on this personal life soundtrack, which is a tool to help Alzheimer patients to recover part of their liveness by recovering their musical life, which usually they have lost. Thanks to the family, thanks to their broken memories, and using a special questionnaire and some, let's say, recommendation system, we can provide playlists for them which are close to what they would like to listen to. And when they listen some of these meaningful songs, their face, their behavior changes a lot. And this is one of the most rewarding achievements that probably we have got doing all this research. Of course, another important line of work has been creating tools for creating music. We have talked about Reactive Ball, but also combining this analysis library with concepts of music similarity. We have created tools that work with loops and generate variations. This was a product by Steinberg, Loop Mash. And more recently, this Rhythm Cat also uses this idea of taking a loop and generating variations that are somehow similar or that follow a certain pattern given by one seed that we give to the system. and also to create rhythm variations, but using different strategies more based on how our mind organizes sound patterns or rhythm patterns, is this example of exploring a rhythm space where we have put a lot of drum loops organized according to certain musical features and certain perceptual distances in a way that this trip around this space is somehow smooth. And we can move from one pattern to another one in a very smooth way. And also we can perceive that there are certain regions that correspond to specific genres. And in other regions, we have patterns corresponding to other genres. Yeah, these tools are not only useful to explore a big collection of loops, but also are useful to create new patterns because the tool is able to interpolate, to invent patterns that are not in the collection that would be at that place. Okay. Technologies for learning music. In this case, we are concerned with helping players to improve the performance. And we can track gestures, we can analyze these gestures, we can detect patterns, and we can provide some feedback to the performers in order that they can improve the gestures. And another different project which was supported by Cork is a kind of tuner that doesn't only care, that not only cares about specific tuning, but also cares about the sound. And it analyzes the sound that you are creating with your instrument and provides recommendations or tells you how this sound is, if it's good, if it's not so good, and it gives you hints on how to improve the way your instrument is sounding, which is also very important as being in tune. Finally, another game changer in our team was this CompMusic project, which allowed us to explore the path of creating technologies for understanding music. We were aware that most of the technologies that are around the world are Western-centric, are assuming that music is the type of music that is listened, consumed in Europe and the States. And that's not true. And unfortunately, we are ignorant of many other important, interesting, and very rich cultures in the world. So this project and some derivations like the musical bridges develop tools especially interesting for musicologists, but also for people to start learning about music that is totally unknown from China, from Turkey, from India. And this also helps us to widen our network of collaborators, our network of students. So this project was a real change in our history. And inside this line of technologies for understanding music, it's also very interesting, and I would invite you to try the downloadable extractor of acoustic brains, which is a way to help us to gather metadata, but coming from the audio of your collections. if you have audio collections in your drives, if you have CDs, you can analyze all this music, and the metadata goes to our servers, not the audio, and we provide, we can build better systems that will recommend music to you and will help you to understand better other musical cultures. A different type of summary of the group. Currently, we have very many ongoing research projects. We are almost 50 persons working there. The income helps to sustain this amount of people. It's not just the photo of 1 year. It's something that we have maintained during several years. Probably the last 10 has more or less similar figures. We are able to present many publications in scientific conferences and journals. During these last 15 years, 4 different spin-offs have been created, specialized in different areas of music technologies. And we maintain outreach activities that help us to connect with children, with people that are not really into music technology even. Why we have reached this point? I am not going to talk about magical potions or something. I think that the most important is the concept of team. And it's clear that I should mention many other outcomes of many people. Some of them are here, and I am feeling quite bad because I didn't show a specific screenshot or a demo made by them. But a team has to be built. It's not just a matter of hiring people. You need to hire people that complement themselves, that may have different views. For example, I mentioned Xavier Serra, Sergi Jordan, myself. Xavier is a biologist, Sergi is a physicist, and I am a psychologist. So probably we bring different perspectives when we talk together, even if there is a lot of time that has passed since we finished our degrees. We have different views, and they complement. We are talking about the same anyway. Caring about your team, caring about your students. I think that putting the person above the technology or above the deadlines is important. It's very important to have a helping context, and the university has been very helpful. We are part of a big department of communication technologies, and we can discuss, we can get collaborations from other areas that we are not the experts into, and we participate in different degrees, and probably the most important is our master in sound and music computing, where we get students from all countries, all over the world, and this enriches whatever discussion, whatever content that could impact on our research. Also, the connection with the SMUC, with the Music Academy is very important because it's our direct connection with composers, with performers. So you see that there is a rich fabric where we are working into. We have certain organization. It's impossible to manage 50 persons altogether, so we have divided our work into these partially overlapping areas. And also we have some licensable technologies, something that we can offer to potential partners. And we are always open to collaboration with companies by means of different tools, different strategies, and also with artists by means of Phonos. Phonos is still with us, is part of us, and is our connection with the creative world. We organize concerts, residencies. We ask artists to try our technologies, and this also is part of the feedback, and also they provide us with interesting research questions. So, to conclude, I would dare to say that we came here to shape the future of music technology, and probably 10 years ago I would have stopped here, but today I want to add, but not for the sake of it. In a previous session, when the experts on AI were discussing, also these ideas appeared. And for me, it's very important that we young researchers, you young researchers, potential developers, thought about what you are developing, thought about the world that you are going to create. Because in some cases, maybe it's not the best world that you could create. We would like to hear about your ideas. If you have projects, please contact us. We are open, and we will be happy to help you or to guide or to provide some education if you want. And thank you. That's all.